Someone will sign a 3-year deal in the WNBA. Elena Delle and Natasha won't be in Washington. And one of the super teams will miss the finals. Those were 3 of the correct bold predictions that Alex Simon and I made for women's basketball in 2024, a bit under a year ago. But now, at the end of the calendar year of 2024, Alex, the sports editor at SFGate, is back here with me today to help boldly predict what women's basketball will look like in the new calendar year that is 2025. The Locked On Women's Basketball Podcast, it starts right now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are Locked On to Women's Basketball. I'm Jackie Powell, and happy Friday. I am one of your hosts on the program. I covered the New York Liberty at the Next, and I've covered women's basketball and the culture behind it nationally at many other places. Thank you for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen each and every day. And remember that Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by everyone at the Next, a place where we cover women's basketball all the time, and we tell the stories that need to be told every day. Subscribe now to support the staff at the Next that works oh so hard to bring you this coverage that matters oh so much. It's $9 a month, $72 for the year. Find us at thenexthoops.com and subscribe. And please remember that Locked On Women's Basketball is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. Also, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter introducing the Locked On NBA Daily Newsletter, your one-stop shop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On NBA newsletter. Today, our show is brought to you by the folks at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Last time we were together, dear listener, I had Maria Marino on here, and we previewed the first WNBA expansion draft in 16 years. And now that the Golden State Valkyries made their selections of players that we could see and might not see rostered in 2025, Alex and I are going to look ahead to what we expect is going to be another dynamic and dramatic year in women's basketball. So here's how the show will go. Like last year and the year before, we're going to divide up our show and bold predictions in the order of how the calendar year in women's basketball works. So segment 1, we're going to discuss free agency, which is very quickly upon us, and the NCAA Tournament. In segment 2, we will chat WNBA Draft and the WNBA regular. And then in segment 3, we will discuss the WNBA playoffs and these upcoming CBA negotiations. So before I get into it and begin this bold prediction themed show, I must say, Alex, what an honor it is to have you back here again for the 3rd year in a row. It's a fun little tradition we have now.
Yeah, and honestly, Jackie, to get a 50% hit rate last year was just remarkable. We're both really excited, and I think I want to get right into it. And I know you've got a hot one for WNBA free agency. So what's your free agency bold prediction, Jackie?
Oof, yes. My bold prediction for free agency is that the Connecticut Sun's core of Alyssa Thomas, Brianna Jones, and DeWanna Bonner are all going to leave and say goodbye to Uncasville in free agency. I find that the writing has been on the wall for a long time for the Connecticut Sun to take steps towards rebuilding. Although they may not say it publicly, when they hired or announced their new hire GM in Morgan Tuck recently, she was very clear about the Connecticut Sun's intent, at least for now. She stated that they want to keep winning and being competitive and want to win their first championship as a franchise. I really don't know how that's going to happen in 2025 when you have Alyssa Thomas, who has been the face of the franchise since Jonquel Jones left, demanding a better player experience. And as we know, Alex, Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner are sort of like a 1-2 package. I know DeWanna Bonner posted, or actually, no, she went on Instagram Live with her children recently. It was very adorable. And in the background, you could see AT giving a piggyback ride to one of the kids. So I don't know what your thoughts are here, but
I do think, yeah, it's just going to be tricky to see if they are a true package deal, which I suspect they might be. What team even has the cap space to land both of them together? Maybe that's an indication of a bold prediction we have later on in the show. But I do think this is very bold that it would feel like even one of these three staying would make sense, even if you are rebuilding to build around. But if they all leave, that'll be a prescient look for you, Jackie. I have a bold prediction on the NCAA tournament. I think we are actually about to have the lowest seed ever make the Final Four in the women's game. So in the history, we've seen Cinderella on the men's side with 8, 9, even 11 seeds get all the way to the Final Four. The lowest seed to ever reach the Final Four on the women's side is actually a 9 seed in Arkansas. I think we won't see somebody like that, but it has been since 2016 that we even had a 7 seed in Washington make it to the Final Four. I think we're going to see at least a 6 seed make a deep run in the tournament. It feels like the college game, while we've seen some top-level teams who are very strong, we've seen a few upsets in recent years, and Miami as a 9 seed went to the Elite Eight and played LSU pretty well the year they won the national title. We've seen 1 seeds get upset. Even this year, some teams that look like contenders, like a Notre Dame, have lost games to teams that we would think are at that 7, 8, 9, 10 seed line, like Utah and TCU. I just think there's going to be chaos this year in the NCAA tournament. We might still see champions that we expect, but at one of the 4 teams in the Final Four, Jackie, I think we're seeing a 7, an 8, a 9, maybe even a 10 seed in the Final Four.
Can I ask maybe an example of, what that type of team could be? It would be quite a tall task to ask you to say, okay, what is that team going to be? But
well, we've seen some teams. So, like, for example, you could look at bracketology right now and see teams on that line. But again, look at this TCU team, which has lost a couple of games recently, but has won some big games as well. Who knows what the Big 12 is going to look like? You could say the same thing, let's say, about Tennessee, who maybe won't go undefeated in SEC play the way they have so far in non-conference, but they play a style that could really be hard to defend against if you play them in an NCAA tournament. It's hard to know just because we don't know who's going to be what seed and where. I'm just taking a huge shot in the dark with this, but I think the parity and the depth of teams now is going to make for a very bold run in the Final Four, a true Cinderella.
I must say I have loved watching what Kim Caldwell has done with Tennessee. I got to see them up close at Barclays. I believe it's now almost been a week ago, or a week and a half, whatever it may be. I was very impressed. So I like that. That is a fun prediction. Well, so coming up, we are going to get into the second third of the women's basketball year, bold predictions for the WNBA draft and the regular season. But first, I do want to say something about our good friends at Prize Picks. So, with Prize Picks, make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Think Steph Curry will get more than 5 3-pointers next week? Giannis for more than 35 points? Cook up hot takes, not just the hot takes we're talking about today, but with your friends and win real money this NBA season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. But also, it is women's college basketball season right now. And this weekend, UConn is taking on USC this Saturday night. That is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on Fox. How many points will Paige and Juju score? How many rebounds does Kiki Iriafin pull down? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. We also want to take the time and chat about our friends at Rocket RX, and Alex will be doing the honors to chat about this one.
Yeah, Jackie, today's episode is also brought to you by Rocket RX. If you fellas are ready to boost your confidence and take control of the bedroom, Rocket RX has the solution for you. Imagine feeling more prepared and performing at your best. Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. It provides FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at a lower cost than branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor visits or pharmacy trips. Everything is delivered straight to your door in discreet, plain packaging. With Rocket RX, you get trusted care from a real U.S. clinical team. Complete a 100% online, quick and easy consultation, and you can get your free prescription today. Visit rocketrx.com to get started now. It only takes 2 minutes, and right now our listeners can get up to 40% off of your first order. Terms and conditions apply. Rocket RX, better sex made simple.
Thank you very much, Rocket RX, and thank you, Alex. Alrighty, so we are back. We are unleashing our 2025 women's basketball bold predictions. I'm here with Alex Simon, the sports editor at SFGate. And so, Alex, what is your bold prediction for the WNBA draft?
This one is partially tied into the CBA, but looking at this specific draft, the last one before the WNBA, as we know it looks totally different. I think we will see a top WNBA draft pick skip the league entirely this season. Howard Megdal over at the 9 and now even Sabrina Merchant at the Athletic have both kind of pondered about Paige Beckers' future, as she could potentially use the draft and leverage around her eligibility to stay back in school or maybe not play basketball at all. I don't want to outright declare it will be Paige that does that, but I do think the opportunity is there for any of the top prospects to wait one season and get in the WNBA on a better rookie deal and what we assume will be better rookie scale pay, that I think a player is going to make the choice to do it. It may be Paige, it may not be. I'm going to boldly think one player around the league explicitly does this for that reason.
So just to clarify, I mean, this means that they graduate, they're done with college, but they don't enter the WNBA draft.
Or they've entered the draft and they just don't go sign with the team that drafted them and sit out the season. Yes. And either way, they will be a player who should be playing professional basketball, either because they ran out of eligibility or because they entered the draft that then decides not to play.
And what I think is most fascinating about this, and I will put the links to both Howard and Sabrina's writing on this topic in the show notes. What I think is really fascinating here is there's been a lot of talk about how dense the women's basketball calendar is for a young rookie coming right out of college. A lot of fans that tuned into the WNBA season were sort of realizing that in real time. And so it would be a smart move for one of these players to say, you know what? I'm going to give my body a rest. I'm going to make myself less injury prone. I mean, we think about someone like Cameron Brink. Would Cameron Brink have torn her ACL if she had more time in between? We don't know.
I don't know if it's fair to speculate directly, but it certainly is a wear and tear to go straight from the college season into a full, now 44-game professional basketball season where you're basically playing basketball nonstop from October to the following October. I certainly think there's all sorts of reasons for a player to do it, hence why my bold prediction is what it is. Jackie, I'm based here in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is joining the WNBA. Do I suspect that your bold prediction might be based around the team that I'm going to have in my market here?
Oh, yes, you are absolutely correct. So my bold prediction is that the Golden State Valkyries will be the 7th seed in the postseason. Yes, the Golden State Valkyries are going to make the playoffs in their first year in the WNBA as the league's 13th team. Why do I say this? Well, I've been impressed by Ohema Nianen and Natalie Nakase and how the two of them have approached what was just such a difficult and overwhelming task in the 2024 expansion draft. This was something that hadn't been done in 16 years in the WNBA. And I've read a lot of the interviews that GM Ohema Nianen did, and she spoke about how many different scenarios, different permutations, Excel spreadsheets that she had to do to feel as prepared as she could. I like a lot of the picks that they made in this expansion draft. They gave themselves a lot of flexibility next month to be a team that will be incredibly aggressive during free agency. And they can leverage too. They have a lot of really interesting things that they can argue to free agents around this league. They have good facilities. They may not be the largest or the best, but they're good. We have to keep in mind that in San Francisco and the Bay Area, land costs a lot more than in some of these other cities.
Tell me about it.
Oh, yes. The same is here in New York. We could talk about the Liberty as well when it comes to that. But the Valkyries have a very invested and engaged ownership group, and they have a great arena in the Chase Center to play in. And they can also pitch players on being the face of a new franchise. I mean, that's something that I think would be really desirable to some free agents. I really imagine that their goal, based on what has been said and based on what Joe Lacob, their principal owner, has said, is that, you know, they want a championship by year 5. Okay, so
by the way, that's by year 5. That does not mean in year 5. If it could happen in year 2 if he wants what he wants, right?
That is true, but it is my hope that because Ohema Nianen learned from Jonathan Kolb as to how to build a team and almost build a team from scratch. I remember talking to either one or both of them, and they were like, oh, you know, when we started working for the Liberty in 2019, it felt like we were operating an expansion franchise. And that was when the team was playing at Westchester County. But anyway, that's a bit of a side digression. I imagine that their goal in 2025 is to be competitive, to get their fans really excited, and a first playoff appearance would definitely fit the bill. This would be a foundational year where they would sneak into the playoffs, you know, host a playoff game. I know that change was made by the league, where since there are charter flights now, it is easier to travel back and forth. So the first round will be a 1-1-1. Right.
It's been a long time, by the way, Jackie, since the W has had an actual expansion team. I will say the last 2 times they had it, when Chicago came in 06, they won 5 games out of 34. When Atlanta came in 08, they won 4 games. Even just getting anywhere close to double-digit wins with more games would be impressive. If they make the playoffs, it's not worthy of a banner, but it would be a very big accomplishment for an expansion team. I think this is quite bold of you, Jackie, and I can't wait to see whether it comes true or not. So let's see, and maybe let's hear what other predictions we have.
Yes. Okay, so coming up in our final segment, we will discuss what we believe is in store for the WNBA playoffs, and we're also going to discuss some CBA-related predictions too. As we know, the Players Association opted out of the current bargaining agreement, and so how that works is they have to negotiate and set one up for the 2026 season. But first, we do want to chat a bit about our good friends at FanDuel. So get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you very much, FanDuel. We appreciate you. And we are back for our final segment of Bold Women's Basketball Predictions. So I'm going to begin. And so my bold prediction is that the Aces and the Liberty will battle in the WNBA Finals again, with a battle between the Sabally sisters. You're probably thinking, wait a minute, one of the Sabally sisters is not on either of those teams. Satou Sabally will be a free agent, folks. And I mean, one of the Aces' real weaknesses, especially last season, was having a front court partner for A'ja Wilson who could score the basketball. I watched pretty closely as Satou Sabally was a ride or die for the New York Liberty during this postseason. She got to take in what it was like to be on a long playoff journey. And I mean, she saw her sister win a WNBA championship and she was on the float. And I think Satou wants to experience that for herself. And so what a better place to do it than in Las Vegas. So I know there was a lot of speculation about, maybe the Indiana Fever are going to go for Satou because they really need a scorer at the wing. But I mean, Las Vegas Aces are in win now mode, and you'd think that Satou is in win now mode as well. I did actually get to talk to Niara Sabally. It was yesterday, and she was asked, so, are you going to be trying to recruit your sister to come to New York? And she sort of was like, well, probably. But then she also said that wherever her sister goes, she's going to be supportive. She knows that she's going to make the right decision for her. Niara did mention that if it was her mother answering this question and not her, the answer might be different, which is implying that the Sabali's mother would love for both of the girls to be playing on the New York Liberty.
I will say this would be quite the bold move, but Satu's free agency last year, where she was a restricted free agency and signed a one-year deal with Dallas, now has left her as an unrestricted free agent, where she has total and complete control over her destination. She doesn't just have to go back to Dallas no matter who else signs her. So I could see this being a surprising free agent departure out of Dallas. Vegas is not the team I would have thought, but that's what makes this bold, Jackie. This is very spicy. An Asia Satu front court might be one of the best I can picture in the league right now, and certainly would take the Aces back from being kind of a middling contender like they were at the end of last season to we are absolutely the super team all over again for one more season. And especially if it's a one-year deal that everybody's obviously going to be ready for the CBA to expire and whatever comes from that. I think it makes a ton of sense as a bold prediction. I'll give you this, Jackie. There is some spice with that one for sure. Speaking, though, if you don't mind me jumping in, of the CBA.
Of course not.
I think my prediction last year that there would be one player, a single player, to sign a 3-year deal knowing that the 2026 year would be guaranteed through the CBA came true, but it was truly just one. We've now had a second player. I believe the only two are Kalani Brown and Lexi Brown, who have signed their 2026 season away so far. However, I think that will come back to look foolish for them only because of the fact that I think this new CBA is going to lead to an average WNBA salary of over $1 million. I think it's an investment for everybody in this. The PA obviously wants to push pay as high as possible, as fast as possible. They might be having other focuses, but if they could keep it on salary and get salary, they want to be invested in making this look solid. The league is still not that big relative to roster size. It's going to be even still less than half of the NBA size once you have the next round of expansion. Maybe they expand the roster and that changes this, but if you keep the roster set up as it is now with 11 or 12, that's not a lot of bodies. And if the money is going to explode, the average salary could also go with it. And I could see the league saying it also benefits the league, by the way, to look like you are paying a women's professional athlete well. There is a reason for both sides to want to have salary explode to a number that maybe is a selling point. That $1 million point would certainly hit if it were the case. If you take current salaries and basically across the board just add a zero to them, that probably gets you there. And so at that point, I could see that being something that every party involved would want to have happen. I'm going to go ahead and say this. It probably won't get there by the end, but that's why I'm being bold, Jackie.
So essentially, you are saying that the two parties, being the league office and Kathy Engelbert, who essentially she is the bargaining part, or she is the person at the table representing all of the league's owners. So it's important to say that. So it is Kathy Engelbert, league office, all the 13 teams, and then on the other side, you have the Players Association, the Players Union. So what you're saying is that before the end of the year, before 2025 expires, this will happen. We know that this is going to happen.
I think both sides want this to go well, and it can get done without a work stoppage, without anything lingering deep into 2026. I think it can happen. It can get done. It can give a big number that gives everybody something to brag and be happy about. And I think it will absolutely, no matter what the number is, it's going to be much bigger than it currently is. But I think there is a statement if that number adds a seventh figure to it for all involved. It looks great for the players, obviously. It looks great for the league in a way that I think would be beneficial. Maybe the league gets concessions on other things that they want if they give the salary number to this point. Who knows? Let's wait and see. I'm making the prediction very boldly that we'll get all the way here. And by the way, the current average, I think, is just north of 100,000 right now in the league when you take all the rookie deals, but all of the big contracts and the maxes. If you just throw the zero on there, that's right above it. Let's see.
That's true. I mean, it is a good sign to hear that they've had preliminary meetings. I don't believe there was even a press release that happened the last time the two parties came to the negotiation table. I know that, I want to say, in January of 2020 was when things were all announced and said and done. So who knows? Maybe December is when they announce this, after the second expansion draft in 2 years. Oh my gosh. Woo, it could be a very busy end of the year in 2025. Well, thank you all for making Locked On Women's Basketball your first listen today. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing Locked On NBA Daily Newsletter, your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On newsletters. And I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Alex Simon. Alex, where can people find your great work?
Anytime at SFGate.com. And if you want to follow it on social media, it's at Alex Simon Sports at pretty much all of the applications that people use on social media nowadays.
Well, I want to wish everyone a very happy holiday season, a happy and healthy new year. We will be back, or I will be back on this show by the time it is 2025. So anyway, for the last time in 2024, this has been Jackie Powell and
Alex Simon.
And we are signing off.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.